Hello, I'm here to talk about the Hanen program, It Takes Two to Talk. I will discuss the research behind the program and the strategies that parents can use with their children to facilitate language learning and use. Language learning can be a lifelong journey, but the bulk of that journey takes place in our earliest years. In the first 5 years of life, when brain development is most rapid, children are more open to learning and more receptive to enriching experiences than they will ever be. Studies have shown that during this critical period, children learn language by participating in back and forth interactions with the important adults in their lives. When a child sends a message, whether it be with a gesture, a sound, or a word, his parents' responses serve as helpful feedback that reinforce and encourage the learning. This responsive feedback is an essential ingredient in the language learning process for every child. If a child is communicating less than others his age, he is unlikely to receive as much of this essential feedback. Because he isn't talking, adults naturally communicate with him less, so he doesn't get the optimal, helpful input he needs to build his language skills. This is why it's so important not to ignore any sign that a child's communication development may be delayed. Some parents are advised that their child will likely grow out of it, and they simply wait for the child to catch up. But a wait and see approach can be very detrimental during this critical learning phase. Since children with delayed speech or language can't participate fully during activities and conversations, they may fall even further behind if they are not provided with the help they need. On the other hand, when a child with a speech or language delay receives extra support from the important adults in his life, he can make significant gains. Early speech therapy intervention is crucially important for these children to develop the communication skills necessary for future success in their academic and personal lives. Up until the 1970s, early language intervention involved speech-language pathologists treating a child in a therapy room with little or no parent involvement. In the early 70s, research began to reveal that the involvement of parents in their child's early speech therapy intervention was critical, and that the earlier parents were involved, the better the outcome for the child. Research also showed that when parents interact with their children in specific ways that motivate, encourage, and support their child's communication, they can make a significant difference to their child's speech and language development. So the Hanen Center's speech-language pathologists set to work to create an innovative program, It Takes Two, which gathered small groups of parents together to teach them how they could assume a primary role in helping their children develop improved communication skills. The Hanen Center simplified the research that showed what helps children learn language best by translating it into practical communication strategies that parents could easily use with their children during everyday routines and activities. Focusing on parent education with It Takes Two, parents learn basic concepts about communication and language that are essential in helping their child's communication develop. They learn about the development of communication with an emphasis on nonverbal communication, the differences between expressive and receptive language, the importance of a child's active participation in frequent, extended turn-taking interactions in order to set the stage for language learning, how and why their child communicates, their child's stage of communication development, which facilitates the setting of realistic communication goals. It also enhances parents' responsiveness to their children's communicative attempts. Here are some basic principles found in It Takes Two. Allow your child to lead. Observe, wait, and listen. Taking the time to owl is the wise way to start. Consciously taking the time to owl is the first and most important step in getting to know your child intimately. In your desire to care for, to teach, and to entertain your child, the natural instinct is to take over. It takes a conscious effort not to anticipate quickly what your child needs, not to tell her what to do, not to choose her play activities. It requires a conscious effort to take a moment, often only a few seconds, to observe, wait, and listen to your child. As parents, your care and concern for your children and the time you spend with them give you endless opportunities to observe them carefully and to get to know and understand them better. Even when your children don't use words, you can easily recognize their feelings or needs when you take time to observe their focus of attention, facial expression, and body language. Waiting for your child to communicate is hard to do. When you wait, you give your child the time he needs to express his interests and feelings in his own way. Your lives keep moving at an increasingly rapid pace, and we have come to feel that a silent moment is an empty moment. As adults, I'm sure you also feel that it's your duty to teach, test your child's knowledge, and conduct conversation. And so you tend not to wait for your child to express himself. Instead, you try to help in your own adult ways. You talk for your child, answer for your child, and use controlling language with commands and questions. Taking over is a natural, even instinctive reaction on your part. However, if you want to help your child learn, you must give him a chance to express himself in his own way. If you make everything simpler, easier, and faster for yourselves, you may find that you're ignoring the feelings, needs, and curiosity of the child you care for and are concerned about. Waiting gives you the chance to get to know your child. You can watch for his focus of attention, look at the expression on his face, and listen to the sounds he makes. Listen. Whoops. Are you listening to the music, Tyler? Is it nice music? Good, nice music. Good boy. Sound familiar? How many times do you have a conversation with your child where you do all the talking? When you talk and your child doesn't respond easily, your natural reaction is to fill in all the blanks, answer all the questions, and even comment without leaving a pause. You think you're making things easier, but you're actually involved in a form of loving sabotage. If you don't expect an answer, your child usually fulfills your expectations by not communicating. If you listen attentively to your child, your undivided attention will give your child the security and encouragement to make his efforts worthwhile. If you listen actively to your child, you will also understand him better and be able to respond more sensitively to him. Adapt to the idea of sharing the moment. Be face to face. One of the most important things you can do to communicate with your child is also one of the simplest. Position yourself so that your child can look directly into your eyes. When you're face to face, available, and interested, some surprising things happen. You learn more about your children by being able to observe their facial expressions, focus, and state of alertness. Your children learn more about you. They can see the way your mouth moves to form words and watch your eyes to find out what you're looking at. They can also see and experience your acceptance of their efforts to communicate and your pleasure in sharing the moment with them. You talk with your children, not at your children. Being close together encourages the give and take of communication and puts you in a better position to allow your child to lead. We've all experienced how hard it is to have a conversation with someone taller or shorter than we are. It's such an effort to make eye contact, and we soon move on to talk to someone we are more comfortable with, someone at our level. So rather than looming over your child, you can bend your knees more, get down on the floor, lie on your tummy, hold your child on your knees, sit on the floor, and give your child the chair. You can make it easier and more comfortable for your child to look into your eyes and have conversations with you by adapting your position so you're face to face. Let your child know you're listening by imitating. One of the best ways to connect with very young children who are just beginning to communicate is to imitate their sounds, actions, facial expressions, and words. If a child puts his head to one side and you do the same, and we do the same. If he says, uh-huh, and you do the same, he will know that you're interested in what he's doing and what he's saying. Chances are you'll make a connection that develops into a conversation. When in doubt, don't hesitate, imitate. Interpret. You get excited about the new sounds and gestures that come from your child. You are quick to interpret them and to assign them the words you think they mean. When you interpret, it confirms that you've received your child's message. It provides your child with a language model to learn from. You usually think of interpreters in terms of a foreign language, but when you interpret for your child, you're trying to help her speak your language. Interpreting a child who is difficult to understand demands a special kind of detective work. Interpreting may mean guessing at what the child's trying to say and putting it into words. Even when you are wrong, your response lets your child know that you are listening. Repeat what your child says with a question in your voice. That will encourage her to try again, and perhaps she can be clearer. Explaining that you can't understand and asking your child to show you is another way of confirming your interests. When all else fails, a sincere expression of your desire to understand and to try again later will let your child know that you appreciate the efforts. Comment. Commenting on what you are doing when the child appears interested can be the start of sharing information in everyday activities. For example, setting the table, washing up, sweeping the floor, and perhaps even getting some help in doing them. You also let your child know that you are interested in communicating with her when you comment on what she says or does and you don't change the topic. The natural give and take of daily life with your children gives you many opportunities to share experiences, take turns, exchange ideas, and have good conversations with them. In the beginning, these conversations help your children experience the joy of sharing what's on their minds. Then they discover that these conversations can provide them with new and useful information about their world. Both parents and professionals benefit from Hanen's integrated approach to early language intervention. Professionals obtain the tools to support and guide parents, and parents learn how to make communication and interaction a natural part of every family activity and conversation. In this way, parents and speech language pathologists collaborate so that speech therapy occurs throughout the child's day, increasing the child's opportunities to learn and use newly acquired information and communication skills in different situations. It Takes Two is one of the most well-known and most researched early language intervention programs, grounded in evidence and consistent with best practice in terms of utilization of naturalistic context and a family-centered approach. It Takes Two to Talk empowers parents to build on their existing strengths and acquire new skills. Thank you for sitting with me. I hope this helped.